Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear guys, this is my first lecture of irrigation engineering. So this is the introduction lecture. In this lecture, we will discuss some basic concept of irrigation engineering. So what is irrigation engineering and what is the role of irrigation in civil engineering? The need of an irrigation basically for agriculture purpose. So what is irrigation? Irrigation is defined as a process of supplying water to crops artificially. The science of planning and designing a water supply system to the plant or crops. Mean that irrigation is defined as a process of supplying of water. इरिगेशन हमारे पास बेसिकली कि हमारे पास वाटर हम सप्लाई करेंगे बेसिकली आर्टिफिशियली द साइंस ऑफ प्लानिंग एंड डिज़ाइनिंग ये हमारे पास प्लानिंग एंड डिज़ाइनिंग वाटर सप्लाई सिस्टम टू द प्लांट ये हमारे पास डिज़ाइनिंग एंड प्लानिंग का सिस्टम है कि हमारे पास जो वाटर है हम वो सप्लाई करेंगे उसका जो डिज़ाइन है वो हम आर्टिफिशियली हम वाटर सप्लाई करेंगे टू द प्लांट एंड क्रॉप्स अंडरस्टैंड सो इट मीन दैट इरिगेशन टोटली रिलेटेड टू द सप्लाई ऑफ वाटर in different manner. Similarly, we have depth knowledge about water because we have been clear three subjects which is completely related to the water, such as fluid mechanics as well as advanced fluid mechanics and hydraulic engineering. Understand? From fluid mechanics and hydraulic engineering, we have learned the behavior and the mechanics of the water, that how can water flow in open channel and flow in the closed channel. The basic purpose of irrigation is to supply water to the crops on land, but how we supply and provide water to the land and how much capacity of water and water and which type of system of supply water is provided to the irrigation. These all things are deep elaborate in the above subject. So that's why civil engineering interested in the irrigation and perform as well as. Irrigation is very complex process. No one can do it only civil engineering because 80% of irrigation are done by dam reservoir. So the construction of dam is totally done by civil engineer. So civil engineer known that how much water process of water and how to supply it in land from irrigation purpose. So water when come from the dam, water flow through the reservoir, then from the river we distribute the water into the different canal and different channel. So further we supply this water to crops and the plants up to the their growth period. Okay, so why we need irrigation? Basically in the irrigation where intensity of rainfall is low and done completely the requirement of crops through their growth period, so that's why the crops affected due to this reason we can perform irrigation on the land. This is also economic development of a country. Okay, so now there are several types and technique of irrigation. First of all, we explain the different type of irrigation. and then we elaborate the technique of irrigation. So what does and mean by the technique of irrigation, and one of the most important term, efficiency. We have different type of technique and irrigation we need use these of which is efficiently supply of water through the growth of the plant. Now we are coming toward the largest dam in Pakistan in their detail. Understand? Manglan Dam is the 16th largest dam in the world. It was constructed from 1961 to 1967 across the Jhelum River, about 67 miles, 108 km southeast of the Pakistan capital, Islamabad, Maripur district of Azad Kashmir, Pakistan. The main structure of the dam include 4 embankments. Dam are 2 spillway, 2 power, irrigation tunnel, and 100 MV power station. Understand? So after another Tarbela Dam along the Indus River rise 148 meters height and 273 meter in length, complete in 1977. The embankment contain of the earth and rock, the largest volume of use in the structure of its kind. Understand? So after we discuss an advantage and application of the irrigation. So first of all, increase in food production. So that means as any country where is a canal system, irrigation system, so we are increase the food production. Another optimum benefit, optimum utilize of water yield, maximum crop yield. Number third, elimination of mixed crops. Mixed cropping means sowing together more crops. Understand? So we sowing mean that we mix cropping mean that sowing together more crops in the this crops. Understand? Number 4 point, general porosity revenue return and quite of high and help to development of country. Mean that irrigation system is we provide properly irrigation system technique, and so the high and the help to development of country. Generation of hydroelectric power, cheaper power generation from dam, canal, fall, etc. So mean that hydroelectric power, cheaper power. So generation from dam, canal, fall, etc. Domestic water supply. So we can need the water supply. So can we supply the water in canal? So domestic of water supply facility. Facility of communication mean that facility of communication. So we can be easily use the water in irrigation. So this is facility of communication. Afforestation, trees are generally grow on the bank of the canal. So mean that we can be growth on the tree or plant in the side of the canal. So after disadvantage, groundwater pollution, nitrate pollution causes disease such as anemia. So when we design the canal system, irrigation system, so different nitrate pollution, so increase the pollution diseases such as anemia. Nitrate may result in colder and damper climate, causing impact of the diseases like malaria. So different diseases or different diseases when we irrigation system, so we are the some diseases, outbreak of diseases like malaria, understand, or and intensive irrigation may lead to water logging and reduce the crop yield. So when we irrigation increase the irrigation purpose, increase the irrigation system supply of the water, so we or the land intensity irrigation may be led at water logging. So when the water table is increased, then increase the water rain intensity increase, so that's why increase the water logging. Understand, irrigation is a complex and expensive. So last topics is in irrigation is a complex and expensive. So irrigation is a very complex system when we construction is canal system or construct our canal trapezoidal canal system. So this is very complex and expensive. Understand. So after we discuss type of irrigation and method of irrigation. So type of irrigation, so first of all we explain the type of irrigation: surface irrigation and subsurface irrigation. Subsurface irrigation, below the ground surface, so we can be design and planning to the below of the ground surface, so we can call subsurface irrigation. So surface irrigation, when upper surface earth we can be design of planning of the irrigation, so this is called subsurface irrigation. So subsurface irrigation, so there are two type of flow irrigation, left irrigation. And flow irrigation there are further two type, perennial irrigation, flood irrigation. So left irrigation further two type, inundation irrigation and open well and tube well irrigation. Understand. So subsurface irrigation, underground water nourishment of plant. So there are further two type, natural subsurface, artificial subsurface. Natural subsurface, leakage of water from canal goes underground and irrigate the crop of capillaries. Mean that when the water is from canal goes to underground and irrigate the crops in their capillaries and absorb the water, so this is called natural subsurface. Artificial subsurface is done by with open joint and drain are artificially laid below the soil. When we provide this canal, when we provide the below the surface, so below the surface is done by with open joint. We provide the small hole in the surface of the pipe. So we provide the small hole, so artificially laid below the soil. So these are provided to the below of the soil. Understand. So this is known as artificial subsurface. Understand. So further technique of water distribution in farm, free flooding. So some technique when we apply the crops and land. So free flooding, border flooding, check flooding, basin flooding, 5 number, furrow irrigation method, porous hose method, spray method. Understand. So this is my first lecture about introductory lecture. So we explain another detail in the technique and water of distribution. So we explain the next lecture. Understand. So this is my first introductory lecture. Understand, when we explain the technique of water distribution in the farm, free flooding, border flooding, check flooding, basin flooding. Understand. So we explain this in the next lecture. Okay, thank you.